Just because your favorite books touch on infidelity doesn't mean that you are thinking of cheating on your partner, right? Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are taking a break from our knitting content to talk about books. Okay, 2025 was the year that I became a reading girly. I just finished my 34th book of the year last night, which I know is not a lot compared to some of the really extreme book girlies out there, but last year I only read 6 books. So I read more than 5 times the amount of books I read last year, so it's safe to say I'm on my reading journey. And I thought a fun first book video would be to read Paul Mescal's favorite books and talk about those, because one of my favorite YouTubers, Carly, used to do these celebrity book videos that I thought were so fun. So let's get reading. So Paul Mescal was recently on the Inklings Book Club podcast by Jack Edwards, and he listed his favorite books on that podcast. I believe he was doing press for the movie Hamnet, which is the movie adaptation of the book Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. So they were mostly talking about Hamnet, but he also listed his other favorite books. So he listed Hamnet as one of his favorite books, but I feel like he was just saying that because it's that was the point of the podcast, was to talk about Hamnet. So I don't know if I'm going to read that one. We'll see. It's 384 pages, so it would be a lot to add on to the rest of this list. But if I have time, I'll read it. I'm sure he genuinely enjoys it, but I'm kind of more interested in the other books he listed. He did list To Kill a Mockingbird, which I'm not going to read because I feel like there's so much discourse about To Kill a Mockingbird. I don't think I can really add anything to it. I feel like most of us have read the book in school already, and we probably have our own thoughts on it. So the other books he listed were Intermezzo by Sally Rooney, which I think is so sweet. Oh yeah, I should mention there's a lot to talk about Paul Mescal. I don't even know if I'm saying his last name correctly. That's one thing about me. I'm bad at pop culture. Is it Mescal? I don't know. But there's a lot to be said about him. There's a lot of lore about him. That could be like a whole separate video, but I'm just not going to get into any of that. We're focusing on the literature today. So anyway, Intermezzo by Sally Rooney. I think it's really sweet he listed this book because, as you may know, he played one of the main characters in Normal People, which is the book by Sally Rooney. He played one of the main characters in the TV show. So I think it's sweet that he continued reading her literature and genuinely enjoys it more than just an actor that just read the book for the show he was on because he had to. And I have read Normal People. I haven't read any other Sally Rooney because when I first read Normal People, I honestly didn't love it. I think it was my first time with a miscommunication trope, and I think I just found it really frustrating. But lately I have been enjoying some books with miscommunication trope, so I kind of want to read it again. Don't mind the garbage truck. But anyway, I'm excited to read another Sally Rooney book because she's so beloved, and I'm hoping that this one strikes a chord with me in a way that Normal People did not at the time that I read it. The next book he listed was What We Talk About When We Talk About Love, which is a collection of short stories about love, I guess. I've never heard of it before. Very interested to get into that. And the last one was Department of Speculation, which I had also not heard of, but it also seems to talk about interpersonal relationships. And I think I'm most excited to read that one because it looks a little funky. It does talk about marriage, I think, which I don't have experience with, but neither does Paul, I don't think, unless I missed something. So I do see kind of a shared theme of more minimalist stream of consciousness type of books, which I again think is sweet because that's kind of something that Sally Rooney does a lot. So I feel like it just makes it feel so authentic that he was in Normal People. Either he was really impacted by her writing style or he already really liked it. And I feel like Irish lit fic is just such a powerful genre to people in the book community. So it's I don't know, this Irish actor that played a character from an Irish lit fic book and his favorite books. I just feel like it's going to be good. So we'll see if Paul can prove me right. I'll talk to you when I start reading. Hi Hi everyone, it's been a few days since I last filmed. I got sick like pretty immediately after filming the intro to this video. One of the days that I was sick, I did watch all 8 episodes of the Netflix docu-series Popstar Academy, which is about how they formed the global girl group Cat's Eye, and that's fine to do. That's fine to do. Cat's Eye has one new stand now, okay? That was a crazy show to watch. Anyway, side tangent, no one cares. I did get 55% of the way through Intermezzo, which is what we're here to talk about. Let's stay focused. It's insane. It's insane. It's not super plot driven. It's more about the relationships, the interpersonal relationships of the main characters. But just like Sally Rooney is crazy. Confirmed I have to go read Normal People again because I don't know how I would have ever disliked one of her books. She'll just like drop something so deep about human existence, like in a paragraph, and it's just like one sentence and she just moves on. And I'm like, when I have a thought that deep, I'm texting my friends telling them I'm going to start a blog. And she's just like peppering them in throughout this book, which is so crazy. I just feel like I'm looking at a masterpiece painting. Like that's how reading this makes me feel. I prefer like more action, but I'm like, oh my God, like the level of talent that it took to make these words be on the page is just, it's leaving me speechless. I don't really know if my thoughts will change very much throughout the second half of the book because I'm not really like waiting for something to happen. It's kind of just like we're living life alongside these people. But yeah, that's the update. The other 2 books are waiting for me at the library, so I'm hoping that I can pick them up tomorrow in time before it closes. And I'll see you guys then. Okay, everyone, coming to you with the best update of all time. It's the week in between Christmas and New Year's. It's raining outside. I have my cup of tea. Cheers. I got what we talk about when we talk about love and Department of Speculation from the library. And I have, according to my Kindle, 31 minutes left in Intermezzo. So I'm almost done with that. I'm going to finish that right now. Amazing vibes. My cat has an injury, so he's stuck inside with me. And we're hanging out, and it's great. You might think he wouldn't want to go out in the rain, but he would. So yeah, I'll give my thoughts on Intermezzo when I finish it. So far, I have one complaint, which is that I do not care about the freaking dog, okay? Like, I understand that having a pet and then like moving into a not pet-friendly apartment is like stressful, fine, but like the dog got way too much screen time. What is that called in a book? Too much page time. Too many words written about the freaking dog, okay? This character felt like it was just poor planning. Like there wasn't like something that happened and now his dog has nowhere to go. It was like, why did you get a dog when you just like have a roommate in an apartment where you can't have pets? Maybe I didn't pay attention to the dog's origin story, but now I'm giving the dog too much screen time in my analysis, okay? I just don't care, okay? I know. Really, I'm in the middle of like I feel like the love triangle is finally going to be settled with where I'm at, so we'll see. Okay, let's talk about what's going on here. I finished Intermezzo 6 days ago, but I wanted to sit with it for a few days before formulating a review on it because it was just one of those types of books. I wanted to see how it would affect me after I had put it down because it really explored a lot of deep thoughts about human nature. So I could just tell I would be pondering it days later. And here we are. So before I give my review, I have a little context about how I feel about reviewing things. I think the 5-star rating system just doesn't really cut it when it comes to art, when it comes to movies, books, restaurants, because it's just like you can't convey your complex opinions about something on a 5-star rating scale. And I'm obviously not the first person to think of this. I actually first started thinking about this concept when one of my favorite YouTubers, Mina, talked about how she was removing all of her ratings from movies and books that she had seen on the apps that she uses to track those things, because she just didn't feel right about rating the art on a scale of 0 to 5. So I actually stopped doing that too when she said that. But then I found myself kind of missing just the quick, easy way to have a reference point for myself of how much I liked something or not. And I actually just read the introduction to the Anthropocene Reviewed, I hope that's how you say it, I don't know, by John Green. And in the introduction, he talked about how the 5-star rating system actually wasn't popularized until Amazon reviews became a thing. And that's when we started seeing it pop up for everything. But before that, you would just read a short blurb about something. And that allows you to understand the more nuanced feelings of the person giving the review and like what you can actually expect, versus giving something just a number doesn't really convey everything. But I've decided in 2026 to go back to giving them a rating on a scale of 0 to 5, even though it's not fair. So with that being said, it was really hard for me to rate Intermezzo because I was so torn about giving it 5 stars or not. Because in the past, when I've given a book 5 stars, it's because I loved everything about it. But in this book, there were relationships that I was really not rooting for. The one that I was rooting for the least, I just really, like, it kind of made my skin crawl. And so I was like, if I give this book 5 stars, would that convey to someone that I wasn't made uncomfortable by this relationship? Or because I don't think that's the point of the relationship being there. Maybe it is. I don't really know. But anyway, it was just like the most complex I felt towards a book. And so that made it really hard to put it into a number. But I gave it 5 stars because it was so well written. I loved how thought-provoking it was. And so even though there were a lot of characters and decisions that I was not agreeing with, it's still 5 stars. So that was something that was hard for me to wrap my head around. I just had a lot of complex feelings towards this book, but at the end of the day, I'm giving it 5 stars. So that's my extremely long-winded review of Intermezzo. I would recommend reading it. It's going to be thought-provoking, if nothing else. And I think I will be circling back to Normal People and seeing if I can appreciate it now, since I've progressed a lot as a reader since the last time that I tried to read that book. Moving on, I finished What We Talk About When We Talk About Love. This was tough for me. I'm not at a place in my reading journey where I want to read a collection of short stories. And if I am going to read a short story, I want it to be really impactful. And these short stories were just kind of like, some of them had twists, but they were kind of just like little moments of people's lives where nothing that crazy happened. Some of them have crazy stuff that happens. What I'm trying to say is that I would not normally reach for this book. And so I kind of feel bad giving it a review because I know myself well enough to normally not even spend the time on this kind of book. Or I would have like put it down and just marked it as DNF. But I'm going to give it 2 stars. I was debating between 2 and 3, so maybe it's 2.5 stars because I did read it. So I guess I'll review it. I liken this book to Catcher in the Rye in my Goodreads review, and I don't like Catcher in the Rye, hot take. So that's just how I know this book isn't for me, because it's kind of similar to Catcher in the Rye in the fact that it's like, I think it's set in a similar time period. This was written in 1980, and the vibe throughout the stories is all just like a very specific time period in America when people weren't up to much besides like hunting and raising their children and having relationships with other people and sleeping with other people and just trying to make money to feed their family. And so these stories mainly explore the relationships between a couple, and it'll just be like a little snippet of their lives at a certain point. And unfortunately, there's just like kind of a tone throughout of the author like not respecting women. It's not like horrible. It's kind of something where you could be like, oh, that's just how it was back then. But I just don't really need to read that. There was some violence against women. There was violence against babies, which was a new low. That's just like too disturbing for my sensitive little mind. And we don't need to talk about why glorifying violence against women is bad, but this book was just not for me. If you like Catcher in the Rye and you're willing to put up with a slightly problematic author, be my guest, but I wouldn't recommend this to people. It has a 4 stars on Goodreads, so people like it. I don't know. It could be up your alley. It's just not for me. I know I'm in the majority with Catcher in the Rye because everyone loves that book. But yeah, it shared the same vibe as like not much is happening. It's mildly depressing and the author has mildly problematic things to say about women. So if that's your cup of tea, go off. And now we're moving on to the last book, Department of Speculation. I'm very excited for this one. I think it'll be better than this one. It's back to being written by a woman, thank God. And I saw it on the shelf in Barnes & Noble the other day, and it like had a bunch of awards. This is an older copy, so I guess it hadn't won the awards yet, but I think it'll be good. So apologies for the negativity about this book. As I said, I normally just like wouldn't even read it because like to each their own. If someone wants to read this book and like it, good for them. I don't want to be a hater, but since I did read it and didn't like it, what choice do I have? Let's hope that Jenny O'Phil can do better. Okay, y'all, we did it. I finished this book in one day yesterday, which it is a very short book, but that's still pretty rare for me. I just didn't want to put it down. And I loved it. It was so unlike anything I'd ever read. I haven't read many books that are like more experimental in their delivery. And I would say this was fairly experimental. I think it calls itself experimental somewhere in one of the reviews or something. And I would agree. It was just so well written. I could not believe it. I loved the writing style so much. It was similar to Intermezzo in the way that it just had random nuggets about human nature that were just scattered throughout the pages that were just such gems. Same thing where it's like I would write a whole blog post about this thought if I had thought of it myself, but someone is just like sprinkling it into their book, which is insane. This was my favorite of all 3. Intermezzo was second, and What We Talk About When We Talk About Love was third. I did remember something nice that I wanted to say about that book that I forgot to mention last time, which is that I also think it's extremely well written. Like if I was just grading it on its writing style alone, I would give it an A+. I just didn't enjoy the concepts and themes explored by the author so much. So again, it could be worth checking out for you, but it just wasn't for me. Overall, without giving away spoilers for any specific one, all 3 books explored themes of infidelity and what it's like being with one other person and then maybe more than one other person. So I think the takeaway here is that if I was dating Paul Mescal, I'd be a little bit worried. I'm just kidding. Just because your favorite books touch on infidelity doesn't mean that you are thinking of cheating on your partner, right? No, I do think it's an interesting thing to explore because the concept of being with one person for the rest of time once you marry them is a very interesting topic. And some people are not capable of making that commitment. And it's interesting to see the different things that prompt people to do that and how both parties or all parties in the situation react. And these 3 books definitely explored the different sides of all of that. That wasn't like the main theme of all of them, but that was a commonality I saw between the 3. I also think that they're all very introspective and more than emphasizing plot, they emphasize just like speculating on human nature. This is literally called Department of Speculation. Like, Paul Mescal is a thought daughter. That's what I learned. And I love that because I, too, am like a very empathetic and emotional person that enjoys to think about what makes people tick. And these books all definitely did that. So reading these took a lot longer than I was expecting because of the holidays, but I really enjoyed the time that I spent. I'm glad that Paul Mescal has good taste in books. Even though that one book wasn't for me, it was still interesting to think about. I'm not like, I don't regret reading it. I wouldn't have read it if I wasn't doing this video, but I don't regret it. So that's that on Paul Mescal, thought daughter, potentially with a wandering eye, potentially not, but just someone who likes to think about the nature of relationships a lot, which I think is sweet. And he has good taste in literature. So I guess I will read Hamnet. Was the last book on his list that I hadn't read. I'll give it a go after this, but I don't want to take the time to drag out this video. So if you enjoyed, feel free to subscribe, feel free to like, feel free to comment. I will probably do more book videos soon. I've just been in such a reading era. According to Goodreads, I was in the top 15% of readers in 2025, which actually really surprised me. I read 36 books last year, and I set a goal for 50 this year. So we'll see. Follow along for the journey. Happy New Year, and thanks for watching. Bye.